Yeah, I think it started in the Bronx, when, my mom would give me sneaker money and we had to go negotiate, at a rate for the sneakers. You know what I mean? I didn't really know who Kandi was, and I think Kandi was like on some like, you don't know who I am? And I'm like, nah.
The fans of Bravo coming at you as well. Like, how do you deal with all that adversity at one time? Station in private.
Yeah,
but they used to have the apartment.
You figure the brand is Kandi, right? So if I start jumping out here, no, it's me, it's Todd. Hey guys, like that ain't what you're here for. You like Kandi and Todd. You like Kandi and you like Kandi and Todd. But if I start jumping out, it's Todd. That's not the brand. Hey, what's up? This is Todd Tucker of Real Housewives of Atlanta on Suave Sessions.
For the people who don't know who Todd Tucker is, who is Todd Tucker? Where did Todd grow up at?
Todd Tucker is Sharon's son. That's my mama. You might have seen on the show. She was a little feisty. Man, I grew up in the Bronx. Born and raised in the Bronx. Raised by my mom. My dad passed early on. Eventually ended up going to live in high school. So you think that was like late 80s. Went to high school in LA. Went and lived with my brother. My brother at the time was a school police officer out in Los Angeles. And I went to high school in LA, and, that was kind of my story. I really wasn't into school. Well, I did well in school, but it really wasn't my thing. I had solid grades. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I attempted the junior college thing. It wasn't my thing. And, I just knew I really wanted to work in TV production. I wanted to be behind the scenes. I didn't want to be in front of the camera. And I kind of knew that kind of early on. Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you make the transition into television? Like, how did you get into production at that point?
The crazy thing is, man, I used to work for the school district. I was what was called a paraprofessional, which was basically a teacher's assistant. And I had dreams of being an occupational therapist. And
okay.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was on a whole different path. I was good with the kids. I was working with special needs kids. I enjoyed it so much. But I think I kind of got burnt out. And a buddy of mine, he was producing music videos back in the day. And I called him, man. I swear I called him for months. He didn't answer. And then one day he answered and he was like, yo, T, come on, man. And my first job, he had me read a treatment for a music video. And I'm in LA running around with no business cards, asking people, let me in your house because I got to get these of a specific type of house. And people were letting me in. Yeah, we're going to pay you. It's going to be da-da-da. And that was like my first gig. I was like a locations manager. And I really got to be in an atmosphere that I wanted to be in. I didn't have to dress up. I could wear my jeans, my sneakers. It was just a fun environment. And after I got a taste of it, I didn't want to do anything else.
Yeah. So I think my perspective, I think that's where the entrepreneurial drive comes in at, because you kind of get into that space of being in your own space and really just kind of doing what you love to do and being comfortable while doing it. Is that kind of like the route that it went for you?
Yeah, I think it started in the Bronx, when my mom would give me sneaker money and we had to go negotiate, at a rate for the sneakers. You know what I mean? I just think just growing up in that environment and in the Bronx, everything was such a hustle and bustle and survival thing that when I got into production, it was so natural for me. When I'm dealing with a budget, I'm trying to save in every line item without, compromising the integrity of the production. And by me always looking at the money as my money, I did so very well with it. So when I do a production, I save you $200,000-300,000. You're looking at me like, dude, because I'm taking it as this is my money. I wouldn't spend my money
Yeah.
like, so I'm not gonna spend yours
Yeah.
like. So you know, I did well. Definitely did well with it.
Nice. How'd you go from, like, again, doing production and scouting locations for music videos to Housewives? How did the Housewives situation happen for you?
Man, it was a long time between my started music videos, but I ended up at BET. I was at BET, and a young lady who used to work with me, she was running Truly Original, which is what it's called now,
Okay.
the production company that produces Housewives. And she was working on a project in Chicago. It was Oprah's last season, and it was like
Hmm.
documenting, you know, her final season. And she had called me several times to try to get me to leave BET, but when she said Oprah, she said they gonna put me up. I get per diem every day. You know, I was like, man, I can save again the money. I'm gonna, you know, get to do this Oprah thing. And we did it, and that was an amazing experience. But when it was all over, I didn't know what I was gonna do next. And she was like, hey, I'm going to Atlanta to do Housewives. What's up? You want to go? And I'm like, yeah, why not? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I went to Atlanta, and the rest was history.
Yeah. And you made a transformation from behind the camera to on camera by happenstance of relationship.
Yeah.
Was there hesitation going into that and saying, I'm going to now put my face in front of this camera that I have lived this long, making sure I did not do?
Yeah, the crazy thing working on Housewives, so you figure the young lady who invited me, she was the executive in charge. So I went working with her. We used to work at BET. Another person who was a producer, we also worked at BET together. And I saw Kandi, and I was like, yo, she's mad cool. Like, I didn't really know who Kandi was, and I think Kandi was like on some like, you don't know who I am? And I'm like, nah. But the thing I liked about Kandi, and I was so new to the show, I didn't watch the show before. It was
Right.
like, it was that season when Marlo was throwing money in Africa. Everybody was just so extra, but Kandi was chill. And I was like, yo, I like
Yeah.
her. She's real laid
Yeah.
back. And for some reason, I never crossed the line. So my friend, I was like, yo, I want to take her out. Tell her I want to take her out. And me and Kandi ended up talking on the trip, and we never separated after that Africa trip.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, transitioning into being with her, I had to leave the job, which my homeboys was like, do not give up your job. He's like, do not give.
Yeah.
But for
Yeah.
me, I felt like I had cemented my name well enough that I knew I can get another job. You know what I mean? It
Right.
wasn't about a job for me. So I jumped out the window. I took the chance, and then, you know, it worked out. But getting back to your point, I didn't want to do the show.
Yeah.
And the reason why I did it, my mom was like, you knew who you was getting with when you got with her. She's on the show. So how did you think
That's
you was
fair.
gonna be with her and don't be on the show? And I was like, well, shit, I ain't think that far. And I didn't think that far ahead. I just thought she was cool, and you know, I jumped out the window. But you know, my mom was definitely a big part of it. And Kandi was on some like, yo, kind of ready to risk it and be like, well, if you don't want to do it, I won't do the show. And I was like, whoa, you know, you never want
Yeah.
someone, even though I risked, I felt like it was a big risk for me giving up my job. I didn't really want her to give up the thing that she had been doing for so long, you know. So I just
Yeah.
said, it.
Yeah. And then I think that's where, like, the fans, housewife fans are a different breed. They
They
kind
are.
of they dive on you
Yeah,
fast. And
yeah,
it was, and again, because nobody knows your backstory, it's like, who's this dude coming in here? And then
right,
anything that's said on the show about you is automatically assumed to be true.
right, right.
So for me, watching the show, I got sucked in. I'm not gonna lie. Watching the show, it's your demeanor in dealing with all of that.
Right.
I know many dudes that would have snapped
Yeah.
and would have went off. You've always kept a cool head dealing with it. How do you do that? How do you adjust to having to deal with the cattiness that is the show coming at you specifically, and then dealing with all the new attention from the fans of Bravo coming at you as well? Like, how do you deal with all that adversity at one time?
That's just how my mama raised me. You know, at the end of the day, like dealing with Mama Joyce, man, like my mom always taught me to respect my elders, man. It didn't really matter, you know, what came out their mouth. You respect them. You walk away. You ain't got really much to say back. You know what I mean? So for me, it was more so like the bigger picture was me and my wife. And at the end of the day, I think with everything I do, I try to see the bigger picture. And I try to avoid the obstacles that's trying to stop me from getting to the bigger picture. So, you know, they still say I'm broke. That's okay, though. You know what I mean? I don't need to show you what I got to make you, you know what I mean, to make you feel better, because I'm good. You know, so at the end of the day, man, it's just really the bigger picture. Like my family, my wife, you know, at the end of the day, man, as long as they're good, I don't really entertain much of what people have to say.
Do you have regrets of going on to the show? Do you ever think like maybe we shouldn't have did this?
Nah, not at all. Like the show, and I'm gonna be honest, you know, I think you start off like, oh, yeah, I don't want to do it. But I think at the end of the day, everybody likes attention. And after a while, it's kind of like, oh, this isn't that bad, even when the negative stuff comes. But the thing is, man, I think my journey on this show has helped a lot of men out as far as dealing with, you know, mother-in-laws, dealing with their significant other, just seeing that we don't have to lose our head. We could chill, think about it, you know, communicate properly, and, you know, hold our families together. You know what I mean? And we're not going to be perfect, but at the end of the day, you know, I think that my journey kind of helped some people out there. And then also being on the show, as you can see, you know, with the things that we've done, from restaurants to movies to whatever, you know, it's a good opportunity to expose some of the things that you're doing and, you know, market and promote them as well. So as they're, you know, as I'm giving up a lot of my life, I'm also trying to, you know, promote my thing. So I'm like, it's a give and take for me. I look at it like I'm gonna give you my all, but I'm also gonna take some of this marketing time to expose some of my projects and, you know, what we're doing as well. So yeah, no regrets at all.
Yeah. And I think what I enjoy about you being on the show is that a lot of your interactions on the show creates the Venus versus Mars conversations. Like the apartment in New York, that became like a thing. That's a discussion now. Like, can you keep it? Can you not? And like that happens. When you were saying like, I don't get enough time with you because you're working so much, it became a conversation about, you know, men desire that personal time as well. How does that, when you see it play back, how does that play out in your personal life at that point? Because now it is a conversation, and it's like, you know, we had this, but now it's like we gotta go finish the conversation in private.
Yeah, but
do you still have the apartment?
I do, and basically I renovated it. It looks amazing. My wife, when she comes to New York, she stays there now. I think all of it, you know, it comes full circle. You know, it's like I have this place. It's a good investment. Yeah, it's from a previous situation, but at the end of the day, it's a great piece of property. That, you know, when we go to New York, you know, them hotel rooms is $700,000-800,000 a night. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I've showed her like, oh, we can save. You know what I mean? Man, I'm cheap, man. I'm gonna just keep it honest, man. I don't like spending unnecessary money if we don't have to spend it. And you know what? If I could save us $1, I'm gonna save us $1. But just getting back to the point, yeah. So even with spending time, you know, I think when you see it play back, it's even like with our kids, you know, our kids will say the same thing, like, yo, we miss you guys, or, you know, you don't spend time, whatever. And when you see it on TV, it's kind of like, oh, it's almost like you're stepping outside of your body and you're seeing it happen. And it's like, wow, I gotta pay attention to that. I gotta do better. So, you know, it ends up working out.
Nice. And you've made a lot of business investments between you guys. Like, you have the restaurants, you have now the production company. Um, how does that play into the relationship? Does that become challenging with your wife being your business partner as well? Like, do you have like that area where it's like, let me do this, like I'm just going to do this thing, and if you want to put some input in, cool, but this is me.
Yeah, like it goes back to the bigger picture thing. Like I had shot the movie earlier this year, and it was like, this is gonna be a Todd thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, a lot of times, and I was talking on YouTube about it, is playing a role, right? You figure the brand is Kandi, right? I'm a co-star. I'm a co-star of this brand. And I think once you start trying to be bigger than the brand, that's when the things can kind of mess up. So if I start jumping out here, no, it's me, it's Todd. Hey guys, like, that ain't what you're here for. You like Kandi and Todd. You like Kandi and you like Kandi and Todd. But if I start jumping out, it's Todd, it's Todd, it's Todd, that's not the brand. So understanding the bigger picture is where I try to make that my strength. Like, stop, step back. The bigger picture is this. Check your ego. Let's go. It's a Kandi and Todd film. We rock together. She helped fund it as well. She was in it. She helped me cast because she had relationships. Peacock was another relationship. So it is a Kandi and Todd production. Even though I might have wrote it seems like it's you, Todd, it's really just us at the end of the day.
Yeah. Nice. All right. So getting into the movie, The Past, it's a conversation that's been had amongst people.
Yeah.
But you put it back in everybody's face, and it's like, this is what it is. These are the risks. What made you want that to be was that your introductory movie?
Yep, my first movie, my first film that I've done. I just think it's great water cooler talk. Right now, people are trying alternative options in their relationship sexually, whether it's a threesome, a pass, or just whatever. People are just kind of searching for what makes them happy, what pleasures them. And I just thought it was a good conversation piece that I could grab you and then twist it. Because when you're watching it, you're thinking it's about a pass. And it was about the con of, what they were doing. So, I like movies like that. I like it when you think it's one thing and it's like, oh, I didn't see that coming. So for me, I was just trying to deliver that. And that's kind of where that came from.
Which is crazy because when it ended, I had a different ending. And that was nowhere near where I was at. I was like, I was done. I was like, okay. It's like, that was good. That was dope. What was your obstacles in creating the movie? Like, what kind of things you run into?
Well, you figure, and I went to look back to see when I kind of jotted down this concept, and it was like 5 years ago. And I think the main obstacle at the time was money for me, because you figure I didn't have a few $100,000 out my pocket personally to just, you know what I'm saying? To just kind of risk, you might have that in the bank, but you're not going to take your last and be like, man, I'm going to
risk it.
And babe, you gonna throw yours in and let's just do it. So for me, like I tell people, they're like, oh, restaurants, where you always wanted a restaurant. I was like, no, but I saw a bigger picture with the restaurants, but the restaurants afforded me a means to save up some money to now do this. You know what I mean? So, you might have one dream, but you might have to do something to get to that dream. So that's kind of
very true.
It's really a financial thing for me more so, because I want to own my content. And really, Kandi and I, when we did A Mother's Love, the play earlier on, we filmed it as a DVD, and we made quite a bit of money off the DVD. And then I licensed it to BET Plus, and the license is just ending now. But when you own these, IPs, you're able to continue to license them and make money, instead of, getting $1 million and change, go do a job for a network, and then they put it up and you made a salary for it. Now I own it and I can license it as many times as I want.
Yeah. Do you have, is there anything about the movie that you would change if you could do it over, or would you leave it how it is?
I love the journey, man. Like I love the journey, so I wouldn't change anything. You know, it wasn't perfect. There are some imperfections in it that when I watch it back, but that's part of my journey and the journey I want to take. I want to learn. You know, I'm
Yeah.
kind of learning on the job, and you know what? I'm gonna do it again, and I'm gonna get a little bit better, and I'm gonna get a little bit better, and just keep doing it. Like I was telling a friend of mine, I was like, when it becomes a job, I'm out. Like I like
Yeah.
that I'm able to right now think of a concept, get with my writers and write it and write it over again and write it over again until we feel like we got it, and then we go shoot it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's to me
Yeah.
that's perfect for me, man. And I don't care if I'm not doing a $10 million movie or $100 million movie. I want to take the journey, and if I get there, cool. And if not, I'm having fun right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm making some.
With you, I mean, it's definitely everybody that I know has either watched it or is on the list to be watched like within the next couple of days. So it's everybody seeing it.
Yeah.
And I haven't found anyone that said anything outside of damn, that was good. So
And
it's
it's overwhelming because you figure you like, all right, I'm like, all right, T, that was cool. But when people are like,
mhm.
yo, we like it, where's part two? You guys, my wife, I'm in stress. I'm like, part two? I just want to leave it, I just want to leave it
Nah,
hanging and move
that's
on.
the question now. Like, is that's the actually the question.
Yeah,
Is there a part two?
yeah, and I've been stressed trying to think of part two. I've been stressed. He's like, don't worry, the movie just came out on Sunday. You ain't gotta have part two ready yet. So, you know. But
Yeah,
it's a
because
blessing. It's a good thing that people are receiving it well, and I appreciate it so much. Like for real.
yeah. Is there, now that you're obviously you're going to gain success with this project, um with understanding that success is going to be there, and also understanding that the Housewives franchise is basically like free advertising for whatever it is you're going to do.
Mhm.
Is there a Do you still see a space to continue doing Housewives, especially with the whole, Bethany Frankel talking about unionizing the franchise and the drama that's coming in now about, the mental health of people and like the setup with production? Do you think that it's worth continuing at this point? Because you do have a brand that can, in my eyes, you have a brand that can stand on its own.
My thing is, as long as the people want to see us, I'm down to do it. Because at the end of the day, the thing for me is kind of like when you look at reality, you start thinking, because everybody doesn't take advantage of the platform like we do. And it's not just about
Yeah.
taking advantage of the platform, it's what we do that we show other people that they can do. Like when people watch me make a movie and they see me using my own house, my own bed, I'm
Yeah.
grinding. I got money, but I'm still grinding. So at the end of the day, we're showing people that, yo, you can do this shit too. Yeah, maybe you might not have X amount of hundreds of thousands, but shit, you could do something for 10, 5,000. You got a camera, you could use your phone. Like there's things you can do. So at the end of the day, I think we inspire and motivate people while we're on the
Yeah.
show. So as long as they want to see us and my wife wants to do it, I'm gonna ride with her.
Nice. I'm not sure if it's rumor or not, but it's said that you
Okay.
were looking to open up a Mexican restaurant. Is that a thing, or is that still a thing if it is a thing?
Yeah, we have a property that I'm building out, a Mexican concept, but I'm gonna be honest with you, the restaurant industry has been so challenging lately, with just the lack of employees, lack of people who want to work in a restaurant. So I've been considering just renting out the property, but
Okay.
I really want to do a Mexican restaurant. I want to do a Mexican restaurant, a breakfast spot, and like a hibachi spot. Like all this stuff I want to eat, I want to have it so I can just go get it when I want
Go eat when you want to eat it.
it. Go eat it when I want to
No,
eat
I
it.
think I think it's dope. Like, again, personal perspective. I love the brunch culture of Atlanta.
Yeah.
Um, the part that I dislike about the brunch culture in Atlanta is that all the restaurants have the same food. Like I want a variety.
If you eat one more lamb chop or some salmon,
lamb chop, salmon, steak and eggs, chicken and waffles. Like I don't want it anymore. Like I want something. I want something that's going to slap, and I'll be like, that's the go-to spot. So if it comes up, I definitely want to push you to do that.
Yeah.
Who would your ideal actress be to get into one of your films?
Ideal actress?
Yeah.
Like a dream.
You have a little clout now. Yeah, you got a little clout now.
I ain't got no clout yet, but
it's a little bit. It's sitting there a little bit.
It's so funny when my wife went to do the Shy. She had to do a sex scene, and I had met Angela Bassett randomly at a restaurant. We talked and we exchanged information, and we've been cool ever since then. And I called her to ask her to speak to my wife just to give her tips before she did the Shy. And she was just the best. Like, just got on the phone with her, just giving her tips, using your eyes. Your eyes says more than your mouth sometimes, like giving her these like real dope tips for when she did her role. So that would definitely be like a dream right there. Like if I ever could do a production and she starred, or even just walk past the camera or something, that would be like, I'm done.
Just a quick little cameo, just kind of look at me like,
yeah. That would be one of those big ones for me.
What do you want people to know about you? Like, what do you want people to take away from who Todd Tucker is?
I enjoy being a husband and a family man. I love my kids. I love my family. I really love them wholeheartedly. Like my little boy Ace, Blaze, my older ones, like we were just in Turks. Riley turned 21. We were turning up with our kids. See, I used to take my mom to the club. To the club with me, you know what I mean? And
my mom tries. It ain't happening. She be trying.
Yeah, but before my mom passed, she was like, yo, she enjoyed it. And I want to be that same way with my kids. I want to, like, Riley invited us, like, I want y'all to come with me to Turks with my friends. So, and I enjoy that. And that's what I want. I just want people to know that, man, I love my family. I love my kids. And I love just being able to inspire and just kind of show people that you can do what you want to do. You could do this shit. I'm special, but I'm not. Like, I just know I learned production early on, and production is the key to everything. And when I say that, it's in production, there's pre-production where you prep for the job, right? Mm-hmm. And you go live, or you're shooting that day and then you wrap at the end. When we go on a trip, my pre-pro is figuring out where are we going, what activities we doing. When we get on the plane, the production is live. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So I look at everything as a production, a restaurant. So I feel like I can do anything because I already know the formula of prepping, going live, and then wrapping it up. You know what I'm saying? And I tell people all the time, I'm like, get a calendar, put dates, do this by that date, do the next thing by that date. And if you stick to it, it'll be done.
Yeah. No, absolutely. All right. So I want to ask you, is there anything else you're working on? But again, your movie just came out last week, so I don't want to do that to you yet.
Hey, man, I'm working on a lot of stuff. We don't stop. I got another movie I'm ready to do. I got a reality show I'm working on. We're talking about bringing The Dungeon back. I don't know if you remember The Dungeon.
I do. I remember The Dungeon. That was a hit.
Yeah, we're bringing that back to Atlanta. So we'll be announcing that really soon. But, just continue to just do what we want to do, man. Have fun, and inspire. That's just it right now, man. Just figuring out how to do what you really want to do. Yeah, and it don't have to be on this level. Like, you could do a podcast. It don't have to be the number one podcast yet, but the process and the journey. And that's what I want people to understand, man. Like, take in that time. Like, that's the time, the process, the journey. Because when it hits, it's going to hit. You're going to get all the money and the accolades. But that process and the journey That's the fun part. Being creative, thinking, you know, figuring out how to have less and use what you have to make it happen. That's the best part, at least to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered the question, but
Nah, that's the answer. Nah,
Yeah.
that's real. All right. So personally, I think that what you brought to not just the show, but just to the atmosphere of people that are watching reality TV, you're showing them resilience. You're showing that demeanor where you're able to be reserved, but still be aggressive when you need to be. And I think that it gives men, and specifically like not necessarily a role model, but a model of how to say, you know what, maybe I can handle this differently. Maybe I don't have to go into every situation that's uncomfortable and have an argument. Right. So it's like doing that, and then showing the fatherhood side, but showing like, you know, it's a lot of work that has to go with this. There's a lot of communication that has to happen, relationships or teamwork. It gives that platform for men to kind of be able to start that conversation and be like, well, not to throw you under the bus all the time, but like, well, Todd said, but it gives them that right. space to be able to like start that conversation if it was an uncomfortable conversation before. So I mean, you bring something magnetic to the show. I think that that's extremely important.
I appreciate that. Thank you, my brother.